What's up, guys? This is Chris and Yellow, the host of No Holding Back. Today, I want to take the time and talk about conspiracy theories. Why conspiracy theories? Here's why. So, conspiracy theories have been passed on from generation to generation. So, for example, my great grandparents to my grandparents to my parents, and now to me. So, I find conspiracy theories very fascinating because you have conspiracy theories like lizard people, cults, time travel, Bermuda Triangle, and the Men in Black. There's many more obviously, but that's another topic for another day. So I want to focus on my top three personal favorites that I have discussed with today's guest, Giovanni, and that is being time travel, Bermuda Triangle, and Men in Black. And with that being said, we have Giovanni back on the podcast who helped us last episode with the aliens, truth or fiction. So welcome back, man.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem, man. So let's get into it with time travel. So as you know, there's been a lot of movies based on this conspiracy theory, with the most popular one being Back to the Future.
My favorite movie.
So that spawned the trilogy. So I want to get your perspective on that. What's fictional about that movie, and what do you think is a possibility of being real if time travel is really a real thing?
Well, I mean, in that movie, I'd say from real and from fiction and from truth, I'd say I see the car going at fast speeds, like achieving light speed almost, is I'd say would be truthful. I believe in that because to achieve time traveling, it would be to travel at high speeds because there's time is the fourth dimension, and well, the fourth dimension. Why the fourth dimension? We'll go with the first dimension. First dimension is a simple dot. Second dimension, you have the X and the Y. Third dimension, you have X, Y, and Z. The fourth dimension is time. And the only way to manipulate that is by achieving light speed, which will make you go into the smallest unit of time, which is called Planck time. And if you end up going into that time and that area of Planck, then you're gonna definitely achieve some warp in time, so going back or going forward. And so I believe that concept in the movie of the car going super fast. That is for sure 100% true. But I don't know if it's gonna come out of a car. I think mostly out of a spaceship of some sort, because the car going that fast that's causing that's gonna be chaos for the transmission. But yeah, no, definitely the light speed is definitely a true thing in there.
So with that being said, there's a plot line in Back to the Future 2 where older Biff figures out that there's a time machine, which is the Delorean.
DeLorean, yes,
Yeah.
sure.
So classic car from the 80s.
Yes.
Unfortunately, went bankrupt,
Yeah,
and
bankrupt.
there's a
Not a
whole
good
scandal
car, but
on
yeah.
that. Yeah. So with that being said, he travels in the DeLorean, takes a book with all records of games that have happened in the past, says, you know what? I'm gonna go back in the past, deliver this to my younger self, so one day in the future I'll be successful, I'll be a multi-billionaire, and basically get whatever I want. And I won't be a bum that I am in the future. So it's gonna change the whole timeline. Okay? So obviously Marty and Doc discover that he has done this because he drops his cane, or a piece of a cane, if I'm not mistaken, before he
That's right.
leaves.
Yes.
So he goes back in the past, successfully gets that done. They go back to present 1985, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
and Biff is like a Trump hybrid. He has a casino. He married Marty's mom after his dad dies, and he achieved his goal. He has won millions, billions of dollars because of this scheme, and this ties in with a real life story with Andrew Carlson.
Yes.
So this guy won $35 million, okay, by placing an $800 bet
Stock
on a
market.
series of high risk deals on the trade market,
Yes.
obviously on Wall Street in New York. So once government officials figured out that he won this amount of money, they questioned him, so they arrested him. So with that being said, he was arrested, and his excuse was, I'm a time traveler, that's why I figured it out. So he claimed, okay, that he was from the year 2256. So obviously, like, it's kind of whack
Of
already.
course.
So to continue with that story is that he said, if you could bail me out, okay, and just make me walk scot free, I'll give you
The information.
information, yeah, to the investigators about current problems that have already been solved or have not been solved in my time, the year 2256. So, according to storytellers, the government complies and says, okay, fine, deal, let's do it. So, I don't know what he has said to the government at this point in this story, but he walks away scot free. So, he tells them enough information and gives them enough solutions on current problems to get bail. So, once he gets bailed, he just vanishes in the night, never to be seen or heard of again. So I want to get your take on it, Giovanni. Do you think this is a fictional story or a truthful story?
I think this is a truthful one because, first of all, for to bet $800 in the market to get a $35 million win, that's one in a lifetime thing, and that's a big increase. And it wasn't on a stock that was known. It wasn't on a big stock, so it's not something. Oh yeah, it's obvious he could have won. That's definitely an obvious win. No, you know, and 800 for 35 million. Wow, that's a lot. And then also to think about it, how why he would give away information of his time, and that's because if I was in his shoes, if I'm coming out of my year into another year, and then I get arrested, that's major chaos. I'd be worrying because I'm not in my year and I'm getting arrested. So to get bail, obviously I'd give him information. Here's my information. I want to get out of here. I want to go back home. And then comes the vanishing part. Now people say the government made him vanish. I don't think so. I think he vanished himself. He obviously, I want to go back in my year. I want to got my money. Tell him, okay, I'm arrested. I'm just gonna tell my stuff, get out, and go back in my year. That's simple as that.
So you think he won the money, took it back home, so he could live a more successful life?
Yes, of course. And of course, and that may contradict some certain things because there's a paradox known called the grandfather paradox, which is basically, let's say I would be born, I would create a time travel machine, go back in time, kill my grandfather, which means my father was never born. That means I was never born, which means I never created a time machine. So it creates some kind of confusion, and that's why it's called a paradox because it goes in circles over and over again. So yes, maybe he did go back in time, back to his year to and have a lot of money, and nothing got messed up in his time. But it's questionable. It's really questionable.
And with the currency, as you know time goes by, money becomes more valuable.
Exactly.
So maybe from $35 million, he doubled or tripled his money.
Well, not only that, maybe he took $35 million, went back to his time, and 35 million is like $2 then. Like how back then $100 it was worth a million now. So maybe he screwed himself back in when he went back in time.
Yeah, that's a possibility you got to think about too.
Of course.
I didn't really look at it at that perspective. I was looking at a positive perspective.
Oh no, it's got to look at the negatives too.
Yeah, both sides of the spectrum, as they say. So you were telling me before we started this episode that you have interesting stories about time travel. So let's get into that right now.
Well, I have two interesting stories here. My two favorite ones. One's called the time traveling hipster, and the other one's called the chaplain's time traveler. Now, the time traveling hipster, what it is there's a photo of a group of old people. We're talking about the clothing here, the style. The old cars, the old houses, the suits, the hats, and then here you have a little man sticking out over there, who has a T-shirt, some sort of cardigan, goggles on his eyes, a hair flow of a certain generation, and him holding a camera. And it seems to be a Canon camera, or also some camera of technology. And now you wonder, his T-shirt is printed. Now this is a photo from the 1940s, 1941 to be specific. And back in that time, they had no such machinery, no such technology to make printed shirts, cardigans. That was not known that back then. It was more suits, button up shirts. Then the goggles, they didn't have goggles back then. The camera, how do you explain the camera? The cameras back then were about the size of I don't know. You'd have to hold that thing with 2 hands. This guy's only with one, simple. It's around his neck.
You have to put it on a stand, you know.
Yeah, on a stand. This thing had you put a light bulb in it. It was about the size of a fridge almost.
Yeah, with that being said, you know, this picture was at the opening of Golden Bridge in
That's
1941,
it.
like
That
you
was
were
the one.
saying.
Yes.
You know, this guy looks like he's ripped out from the 1980s.
Mhm.
You know, you have, you know, a shirt that if it was in picture, I would think it would be a flashy, you know, printed picture on his
Yes.
shirt. You know, cardigans. You know, I think that really got popular in the 1950s and carried on to present time. But it's the quality, the material of his cardigan. You know, that could be, you know, from, I would say, a range of the 1950s to the 1980s. You can't
Definitely.
really pinpoint where that cardigan came from. The goggles, it really throws you off
That throws it off big time.
because you don't know where he would have got those goggles.
I
You
mean,
know,
goggles 1941. That was crazy. You see a person holding goggles 1941. You think this guy's a freaking alien.
yeah, and you know, I know a lot of conspiracy theories debunk this picture because they say, yeah, you know, you really had to go to like really weird clothing stores to get
Yeah.
that type of clothing and stuff. But I'm like, he just does not fit in that picture. You
Definitely
know,
not.
it's very like I would the way I would explain it is that it was a picture that should have never been taken.
Exactly.
You know, someone photographed that picture and so happened to be that they found something very unusual and they just don't know how to explain it, so they're gonna try it any way or give you any reason to debunk this picture.
Exactly.
So what was the other story you were talking about?
Yes, I was just gonna mention about that. This one's called Chaplin's Time Traveler. Now, Charlie Chaplin was actually making a movie back in his time, and he ended up catching a old woman at a zoo, and here she's seen next to a statue of a giraffe, and she's holding a device in her phone close to her ear. Exactly what it is? A cell phone. It looks as if she's on the cell phone talking to someone, and some people debunked it, saying that it's just one of those horns that you put next to in your ear to hear better, because you know old ladies, so they used to
Yeah,
have these
I heard
horns
about
to
that. Yeah.
yeah. And you see that's what it is. But looking at the picture, it's clear it's some silver rectangular box that seems like a cell phone. And yeah, I mean they catch her just in there talking, looking around as if someone was having a conversation with her on the phone.
Yeah, it's not only that, like it could have been a touchscreen telephone, but in my eyes, from based on what I'm seeing in this picture, is that I would think it's a flip phone.
Even if it's a flip phone or a touchscreen, it doesn't matter. In that time, in Charlie Chaplin's time, there was no portable cell phone. There was no phone that you could have brought out of the house not wired.
Yeah, and you know, time traveling is a conspiracy theory, which is my personal favorite. That's why I wanted to start off with this
Oh yeah, I love
conspiracy
it. I
theory.
love time traveling.
You know, there's
Yes.
so many questions surrounding this conspiracy theory. You know, a lot of movies based on this conspiracy theory open up our minds to so
Yes,
many ideas.
of course.
You know, vehicles, uh, times and places. You know, maybe you go into a abandoned house or a mountain, and then you go and you just disappear, and you find
Out of nowhere, it
yourself
could be
like
anywhere.
in the beginning of a day. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so like a Groundhog Day, like conspiracy. So like you're in an
Yes.
endless loop. There's a lot of forms and types of time
Time
travel.
travel, yeah.
You know, you're either stuck in a loop or you choose where you want to go to. I
Or
don't,
you could even be accidentally brought to a certain other time. It just happens.
and the scary part about time travel is that if it is real, imagine going somewhere with a possibility of not coming back.
That's honestly very very frightening, because you're going future or past. Okay, past, yeah, you're going to past. You may know a little bit about your history, fine, no problem. Not much of a problem there, of course. But let's say you go to future. Oh boy, that's scary. Knowing you could go there and possibly not be able to come back.
You know,
Yeah, it's
they
frightening.
could you could throw them off by how you dress, how you act, you know, what you have on you. And if you're going prehistoric, I'm sorry,
Oh
you're
no,
gonna be like
forget
captured and killed on the spot.
forget
But
not
if you're
captured.
going in the future, you're probably gonna be imprisoned and you know, questioned.
It depends where the future, what time the future's in. What's happening in the future. It depends on that.
Yeah. And with that being said, we're going to conclude with time travel and move on to the Men in Black.
Oh
So, the Men in
yes.
Black, obviously, spawned a trilogy as well. Same thing with the Back to the Future trilogy, with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Uh, so these guys are basically working for the Pentagon, American
Yeah.
government, whatever you wanna classify them as. So they're guys that stem from families that are inexistent, no backstory or really history about these guys. They really have no friends or anybody that cares for them. And I've heard stories that they're also mute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I mean mute, I mean like they choose not to speak because they don't want to give away their voice or anything so people could
Nothing.
describe them. And the main thing, what's very scary about this conspiracy theory, is that they have a device that erases your memory, just like in the movies. So I know Giovanni had a story about it actually, about the Men in Black. So you could share that with us.
Yes, of course. So, well, first of all, I like to say about the device you just mentioned there that makes you forget. Those inventions there are it's very possible because you know technology nowadays it's hidden. Maybe we do have it, maybe we don't, but stuff like that is very powerful, and I think we do have such devices. And the story I want to mention was one time there was a woman that experienced an alien abduction and mentioned it, to the news, to the government, because you worry in those times, so you go to the police, you go to whoever you go to,
So people you
and
trust, but in
yes, of course,
reality, they turn you in or they contact government
yes,
officials and be like, "Yeah, we have a crazy person,
of
or
course,
or we have a problem here."
yeah, and then guess what? They get the news travels. So what do? Men in Black. They come to your door, they knock. Next thing you know, you're gone.
They don't even ask questions. They don't even talk like I was saying
Nothing.
before. You open your door. Oh, who is it? Zzz, they
Mm,
scan you. That's it.
That's it. Your
Or
name
they
and you're
literally
out.
just drag you out, and no one ever hears about
Yes.
you, or there's no government papers or anything that
You
proves
know,
that you even exist.
of course, and apparently the girl, the old lady that was abducted, that story just mentioned, apparently a neighbor saw her getting dragged outside by the Men in Black.
And here's a scary part about this, if they are real, or maybe they are real, but they're not like how we're describing them
Yes.
right now. You know, Imagine your sole purpose is literally just scanning people's brains to erase their memory or just dragging people out. Like, what do they do to them? Do they bring them? Do they experiment on them? Do they like kill them? Like, there's so many, it begs the question, like, there's so many questions. Like, what do they do? Like, why would you even be tasked to do such a thing?
Of course, and you know what? This is what people know life. Let's say I was a man, or where I lost my parents. I have nobody, have no friends, nothing, not even a job, and I would be approached to be a man in black. I'll definitely. I mean, I'll take it. I don't know what benefits the government gives them, but as such a job, why not? It's better to just sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah, and talking about the movie or the trilogy,
The Men in Black movies, yes,
anything of any movie of your choice
yes.
within that trilogy, what do you think is possible in today's time or in real life that we could take out from that movie and dissect and analyze?
Well, definitely the alien aspect. I mean, it could be that they're living amongst us right now. We don't even know. Also, but what I think most of all is the gadgets. Those are gadgets that, yeah, okay. Some of the new movies there, they exaggerate on the gadgets, but the concept is there. The concept is could be real. They exaggerate on how it's performed, how it comes out, how it's used, blah blah blah. But the concept of it, the device of making people forget, the rail gun, like those concepts there, that's very. I think that's very true.
And the one thing I would say is very truthful in those movies is that they're secret base.
Yes,
Everyone has a code name. They're not really known
exactly.
from their
They
actual
have to stay
names.
hidden even from their own
And
organization.
as you see in the movies, they can't really develop relationships, or as you see with Tommy Lee Jones's character, he doesn't really want to make friends. He doesn't really choose to because he
Exactly.
knows it's part of the job. You can't.
You can't.
And once you retire, and this is probably stems from the conspiracy theory. Once you retire from that position of Men in Black, or you actually get the device used on you.
On you.
So it erases your memory because they are
Exactly.
scared that you're gonna walk away with all this information
Exactly.
and start telling the public. They
You
don't
know,
want that.
Of course. Once you resign from a Men in Black, you're not a Men in Black anymore. So you become a regular citizen. What does that mean? Flash.
And maybe if you, let's say you retire at 50 or 65, then and only then you could choose to live a normal life.
Of course.
But a majority of your life was dedicated working for the Men in Black.
Yep.
And, you know, whether if it's true or not, you must be really dedicated, like Giovanni was saying, or have no life to really do that, or maybe they're really passionate about it. Like, I don't know.
Well, if I could be a man in black and forget about everything, nah, I don't think I would. But in certain times, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
The only concern for me, if I was in that position, was imagine knowing all the world's secrets just to be erased from my mind.
It's scary. It's definitely scary.
Everything, like all the crazy knowledge, that was given to me. All my questions have been answered just to be taken away from me. It was like for that span of years doing that job. It's like, okay, thank you and thank you for your time. Here's
That's
everything you know, but like once you retire, it's over.
That's it. Your life thrown away.
Yeah, unfortunately. So now, with that being said, concluding that and putting that on the side, we have the Bermuda Triangle, our last conspiracy theory on today's episode.
Yes.
So, the Bermuda Triangle. A lot of people have disappeared. A lot of aircrafts, boats. Well, boats are part of the aircrafts. The planes, whatever.
Anything crossing that could cross in it.
There is a so-called graveyard buried beneath the ocean, where a lot of the tragic events took place due to the Bermuda Triangle, and a lot of bodies and a lot of artifacts are never recovered. There's pieces, there's limbs of bodies, but never the full thing.
Never.
And this is why we're talking about Bermuda Triangles today. Why is it that we cannot find people? For example, Amelia Earhart.
Yes.
Why do you think she's a victim of the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, you know what? She was actually trying to cross the Pacific, but I mean, it's still around that area because I'd say the Pacific is it's a vast ocean. It's the other side of the world, and honestly, that could be it's a Bermuda Triangle on its own. But I don't think she's a victim of the Bermuda Triangle, the official one that we do know. I don't think she's a victim of that one.
And there's been a lot of aircrafts that lost connection
Yes.
to their countries. Like the American
the
fighter jets.
Yes, the fighter jets, and also the Boeing. Was it the Boeing? The plane flying to the Philippines, was it, or the one that we lost in 2017?
2017?
Yes, it was the one of the plane going to the Vietnam, or was it the Philippines? And the 761 flight there that we lost many people.
So this is recent.
This was recent, yes.
Wow. So till this day, the Bermuda Triangle is still haunting us.
Still haunting us, definitely.
With that being said, you have so many questions about that. Like, how does it work? Like, do you get sucked in to another multiverse, another dimension?
Well, there's a lot of theories on it. And first of all, before I get started, the Bermuda Triangle is called the Triangle of Death for a reason. That's because they say if you cross it, there's chances of you dying. Okay, dying. We'll say disappearing more often. But this could be due to many reasons, and there's many reasons out there on why you disappear. First would be, they say the most common, the most logical one would be the one that in that spot there, the Earth's magnetic field is so powerful that it brings down its aircrafts and it sinks its ships, as if it creates some sort of magnetic force field as powerful as a King Kong bringing an airplane down. It's just super powerful, and you see that's the reason why. I don't think so. The Bermuda Triangle is just so placed well, so perfectly, as if aliens have taken over that area, And another option, another theory on how people go disappearing in this part is how the aliens could be abducting them. For example, an airplane. I know a story where an airplane, the commander was saying before his last few words, he was saying that there's a light shining from the sky, not only from the sky but also from the ocean, as if a portal opened up from the bottom and from the top. And 5 minutes after that conversation, he kept saying how it was weird and how the plane was acting weirdly, disappeared, gone, out of existence.
And if you listen to footage, if there is any existing footage left, but I think there's a couple, if I'm not mistaken, you hear them like questioning, what's happening, I can't hear you, I see this thing right now, it's very windy, a lot of rain, heavy rain, my plane is going down, or the boat, it can't take it anymore, a lot of water is like sinking this boat. And it's crazy because, like I was saying before when introducing this topic, you know, you find remains of certain, uh, aircrafts, boats, and so on, but you don't find every single one.
Nope.
But why?
Well, this one is a lot of theory, there's a lot of facts about this, a lot of possibilities, and that could be simple as some pieces, if they do get destroyed, go in the most bottomless pit of the ocean. They could end up there. They could end up washed under the sands in the ocean. They could end up scattered around the ocean because the water currents, they move around the earth, right? We all know that, and it could bring some pieces to certain places, and while other pieces, maybe they're heavier, they stay in the same spot. Or another one could be where some pieces get taken with the aliens if they were to be abducted.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate that a lot of people lose their lives because of the Bermuda Triangle. I know a lot of people are actually scared to travel through the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
And I remember when I traveled through it when going to the Caribbeans. I was literally terrified. I was like, oh my God, am I gonna make it alive? Because as a young teenager, searching up information and stuff about conspiracy theories. Then when you realize that you're heading towards the Bermuda Triangle to get to your destination for a lovely vacation, you're like, oh my God, am I gonna be a victim of the Bermuda Triangle?
It is known that some airplanes actually avoid the Bermuda Triangle itself. They actually try to fly around it in some cases. I saw one time, it was just a little thing. I was just browsing the web, and I saw the air traffic control. It's a map of showing all the airplanes that are in the sky at the moment, and it's showing. I just look at the Bermuda Triangle, and I see all their paths are going around the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe one or two went through it. You have to be really brave to do that, but the rest of them were going all around it, and it's just crazy to think that.
See, and this leads to us, thinking and realizing that conspiracy theories are so strong and believable sometimes that it affects our daily life decisions.
Basically, and conspiracy theories itself, in the name, it's a theory. You don't know if it's right, you know if it's wrong. It's just a thought, and thoughts are always negative or positive.
And with that being said, out of the three we've spoken about today, what's the most believable for you?
For me, I'd say most believable. Well, I think the most believable will be the Bermuda Triangle, and I believe mostly in the fact of the magnetic field of the Earth, but also a little bit of the fact of the alien abductions in the Bermuda Triangle. It lingers in the back of my head. But yeah, I think that's the most believable. But my most favorite is the time traveling one. I really like that topic.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you with that. Time travel would be up there as my favorite. And I have to give credit to Robert Zemeckis and the director of Back to the Future. For creating such an inspiring and lovely trilogy that till this day kids grew up watching these movies as well. It's such a staple in the 1980s and for the rest of our lives. Classic nostalgia movie. And that will forever be my favorite conspiracy theory. But when you want to look at facts and events, what's proven, what has not been proven, it has to be the Bermuda Triangle. There's facts, there's artifacts hidden and buried beneath the ocean.
Still not yet to be found.
body parts, clothing, uh, on like scattered upon like abandoned islands in the ocean. A lot of people haven't
Ridiculous.
been found. A lot
Yeah.
of artifacts haven't been found. So I gotta go with that one as
course.
my most believable. You know, and then going back to like going on an airplane, and being so scared of this conspiracy theory that I wouldn't even want to travel through it. Like, if it affects your life and your decisions and how you think about things, it has to be the most deadliest conspiracy theory out there.
Of course, and I'm gonna let you in on a little fun fact here. Did you know that we know more about space than about our oceans? Apparently, our oceans, we did not even discover a whole ton of it. We only discovered, I think it was 30% of it. Now, 30% of an ocean, we discovered more of our universe than our oceans. And that brings up a little bit of a scary fact of how we don't even know much of what we're living on.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes we misplace our priorities. We base it on what's more fascinating. And obviously you had the Russians versus the Americans for the battle of going to space 1st. So during that time, you know the main focus was space and has carried on to present time. And today, it's time, we still question why we haven't really done a lot of digging and have a lot of knowledge on our oceans. And I think that's something we have to improve on for the future moving forward.
But that's a hard thing to look back on. I mean, trying to discover the depths of the ocean is really hard because you have to deal with the pressure of the water. And, it's something a human can go under. We don't have that technology yet of a suit to go that deep, that far deep underwater. I mean, yes, we do have some submarines and some vehicular, crafts that could go underwater that deep, but it to a certain extent, it's too. It's almost impossible.
Like, we don't have the technology to go that far into our ocean.
Exactly.
And human beings, cannot they
We're
they
not
cannot
capable.
withstand going that deep
Exactly.
until like we are lost in
Exactly.
the depths of the ocean.
We don't have that technology yet.
Yeah, and I think I'd rather be lost in space
Oh,
than
yes.
drowned in the
Oh,
ocean. It's so
definitely.
scary.
Yeah.
Your body could be dragged all the way down to the bottom, and we don't even know what's there, all the way in the bottom. It could be
Nothing.
anything. It could be hell.
Yeah, for all we know, yes, it could literally be
Yeah,
hell.
it's so scary and it's so dark. Like I would say it's even darker than space.
It is. It actually is darker than space because nothing is traveling. You have no light at all. In space, you get some light from stars, some light from nearby suns, our own sun. But down in the bottomless pit of the oceans, forget it. There is no star. There's no sun. There's nothing. No force
And
source of light.
that goes back to people that have never been recovered, such as Amelia Earhart. Maybe they were dragged so deep beneath the ocean that their remains will never be recovered.
Never.
And I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming back on the podcast today. I know it was a back to back, recording with the episodes.
It's not a problem.
I just wanted to say thank you so much.
It's not a problem at all. It's a topic I love to talk about, and I'm very glad you brought me in on this.
There's so many conspiracies out there. I would not be surprised if I have you back on the podcast for more.
Definitely something's going to come up for sure.
And with that being said, for the viewers, if there's any conspiracy theories that you guys want to hear, lizard people, government conspiracies, assassination cover-ups.
Cults too.
Yeah, cults, exactly. That's another big one. Make sure to comment in the section below so I could actually reply to you guys and think about, how I can organize another episode covering conspiracy theories. So with that being said, let's have a little question for you guys to end this episode. What do you believe in? Time travel or
Bermuda Triangle?
Bermuda Triangle?
The Men in Black?
The Men in Black?
Or any other theories?
Or anything theories that you guys know?
If you guys know any theories, please list it down. I myself would love to. I'm gonna get some information off Chris, but I myself would love to see these and see what kind of conspiracies you guys have found or you guys have thought of. And that would honestly be something interesting for me to see because I like this topic. I like these kind of stuffs. And theories interest me the whole way. So let Chris know. Comment down below, and we're gonna get back to you on that.
Perfect, man. Thank you for being here today. Thank you guys for listening. If you haven't checked out my last video, which involves a conspiracy theory about aliens, make sure to go check that out. Make sure to go check out any other episode that I have already posted. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to click on the subscription. And thank you so much, guys. Until the next one, have a good one.